choices we make.
Did you make any today? On the way here?
Oh, for sure. Nobody died.
Hey, welcome to the Sinner and the Saint.
I'm Melissa Bell.
And I'm Allison Kane.
Oh, it's January. Guess who doesn't like the cold? It's me.
My goodness, it's cold.
I'm from Florida, girl. I need to go.
Woo, I'm not even from Florida, and it's just not this cold in North Carolina. Nobody has coats for this. I need long underwear to wear on the daily, and I don't even have any.
Oh, girl, don't you have any of those 32 degrees extra layer thing?
I have one that I wear when I walk in the cold for 4 miles.
Okay.
But it's sweatshirty. I need the undershirt.
Yeah.
The thin.
Girl, Costco.
I know. Oh.
Everybody gets them for Christmas at my house.
Great. All right. I'm in.
All right. You have to come to
If
my
I
house.
buy them, here's what's going to happen. The weather is going to be 65. So I'm going to go do that for y'all.
Oh, thank you. I was like,
I'm going to
please
go buy
buy
some
them.
long underwear, and then it's going to warm up.
I would love that.
Okay.
Nice.
It's a deal.
So let's see. We are almost at the end of January by now.
Yeah.
And, if you made one of those R's at the beginning of the year, a big resolution, how's that going? I'm just kidding. I don't want to give you a hard time. But I know, they're hard, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought it would be interesting. I'm all about goal setting and micro habits and all these little annoying terms that you just
Yes.
kind of glaze over when I talk about them.
Yeah, I have to Google some of them.
Yeah. And as I was finishing out last year, I just went back to my journal and I realized, first of all, I was praising God for how far I've come in life. Because 50-year-old Melissa is nothing like 25-year-old Melissa. If you think Melissa now is gangster, you don't even want to know what I looked like when I was 25 years old.
Thank goodness. Hopefully we've all changed a lot since 25.
Right. And if you are 25, don't worry. It's going to be different later.
Yeah, in a good way.
But a lot of that has to do with the choices we make.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, just like last week talking about those two roads.
Uh-huh.
Got to pick one. You can still take a U-turn later if you figure out you've taken the wrong road.
Right.
But yeah. Well, I got a good scripture for that.
Okay. Lay it on me, girl.
I've been working on this. I've been in the book of James, which, by the way, is legit in your face. That boy want to crack open everything. It's a book about test and examine. Where you are.
Isn't he the one that says, I will spit you out? You'll be spit out if you have lukewarm faith.
Oh, maybe, probably.
Yeah, I think it's coming.
I don't know if he can spit you out, but Jesus could.
Yeah.
But so Second Corinthians 13, and this is verses 5 through 8 in the Message. This sums up. This is not obviously the book of James, but this sums up for me what kind of the book of James is. It says, "Test yourselves to make sure you are solid in the faith. Don't drift along taking everything for granted. Give yourselves regular checkups. You need firsthand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Jesus Christ is in you. Test it out. If you fail the test, do something about it."
Yeah.
I mean, I love these verses in this translation because this is what we need to do on the daily. We need to be testing it out and rummaging through our pockets from about the day. What do I have in my pockets from the day? Where does he got to work? Where didn't I? Am I on the right path? We need to be asking questions and all these things. And then if we're failing in some way, no guilt, no shame, but do something about it.
Yeah.
Pick a different path, do a U-turn.
Make a different choice.
And make a different choice.
Well, I mean, there are so many choices that we make every day that we're not even aware of because it's what we do, right? You choose to go left or right. You choose to what you're going to have for dinner sometimes. You know, you choose if you're going to give in and have the extra piece of chocolate, Melissa.
Oh. You decide if when you go to Trader Joe's, when you just want to get the handheld basket, but you always almost break your arm because even though you're only going in for 3 things, you get 30. So you have to make a choice between the basket or the cart, even though your list is short.
Never bring a cart at Trader Joe's.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, if you make your life really crazy busy, you don't even have time to shop for that much stuff at Trader Joe's.
Oh, okay. Well, even when I don't have time, I seem to find a lot of things.
Well,
Yes, but so many choices, you're right, that we don't even, gosh, it's so true. Now that you throw that out there, I mean, it seems so benign, but it's really
Right.
such a good point. We make a lot of decisions during the day.
yeah, and I think, one of our kids is kind of trying to figure out what he's doing next and launching. And so, there's little decisions like go left or right or what to wear. And there's big decisions like, what do I do next with my life?
Right.
So I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to just kind of go down some of the things that we get to choose. And maybe now's the time to evaluate. In my thankfulness that I was just like writing out to God and just being grateful for how last year was. And y'all, let me tell you something. Last year was not a walk in the park, but I still had so much to be grateful for. It just made me realize all the different things that I have in place that help keep me on the rails.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what you just said right there was a choice that you made. It was a really hard year, but you had a choice and you focused on what you had to be grateful for.
That's true.
That was a choice that you made.
That is one of the biggest choices.
Yeah, your direction of your focus, like what direction is that pointed in?
Right. I think, I went back and I said, well, what was hard last year? And my what was hard list was so short compared to all the highlights that I had. And it is a choice to decide, like, I can see that, my dad was really sick but what good came out of it? We got to spend quality time with him. He probably had things going on that we didn't know about that were underlying for years, and now those things are being taken care of. He's on the right path with his benefits for military. So all these things, like, and I survived it.
Yeah.
And nobody died.
Right. I was going to say you might have had a small list, but they were big things.
Right.
They were all big things on the small side.
Yes. Yeah, they were big, heavy
Even though the
things.
list was short, the items were big.
Yeah, so choice number 1, you get to choose how you pick yourself up from something.
It is true.
One of my kids had a really hard week a couple weeks ago, and just the rug got ripped out from underneath them. And I was like, buddy, all I have right now is old people wisdom for you, so I'm going to hold that to myself right now, because there's a time for that. But how you respond or react or get up from this is going to make a huge difference in your life.
That's really true.
Because we're all going to face crap.
Yeah.
Do you lay in it and spread it all over yourself and analyze it forever?
I mean, sometimes you feel like you just want, or throw it at people. Like sometimes you just want to do that, right?
Yep.
But what do we do in the pity party?
Yeah.
That's, again, another choice. We can throw it, or we can make it into a pretty sculpture.
Right?
And keep it. Put it on our shelves as a reminder.
Let's just get in a mud pit now.
And so I love, though, that you reflected on the year, because January is a time of reflection and what they examine, and looking back on the year and looking at all the things that were hard, the things that brought you joy, and then seeing where God was, maybe where you didn't see him, or you didn't respond the way you wanted, or it didn't work out the way you wanted, but what were the beautiful, the joys and the beauty in those things. And sometimes they're hard to put into words.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a moment like that. I was kind of examining my, oh gosh, I don't know what's going on in here. Like the head, the heart, the whatever, all the mixed up things in there. And I was kind of going through that image of rummaging through your pockets. And so I was just kind of pretending like I was pulling all these things out of my pocket from the few weeks of the past month. And I kind of was holding this thing. I imagined myself holding this object, but it seemed familiar, but I didn't have words for it. And it reminded me of certain things like frustration and reluctance and unknowing. And it reminded me of those things, but it's not that. And not being able to sort of define it and measure it and name it was really challenging for me. But the question that I left my time with God with was, what if it's not about figuring out the name of whatever that is and naming it? What if it's finding peace in the sitting of the not knowing and not being able to name it?
Because at the end of the day, you're not just sitting with the unknown, but you're sitting with God with the unknown. And so, like, you just kind of summed up everything I'm getting ready to go over with that,
great.
which is amazing. Yeah, because you're comfortable with that because be still and know.
Right.
That God is sitting with you.
Right. And it's like, isn't that enough?
Right.
Even though you can't name it.
Yes.
And shouldn't it be? Anyway, it was such an interesting moment of my quiet time with the Lord.
So one of the things when you're in the mud pit is to get out, sometimes it takes friends. And the choices that you make with friends, if I look back at Melissa at 20-something years old, none of the people in my life today, not only was I not in a state, but even the same, I don't know what you want to call them, the same group of people, similarly, that make up who I have up here, were not anywhere in my realm in Florida because of the choices that I was making, right? And it's not like I was out doing wild, crazy things. I wasn't, drinking and partying and that sort of thing. It's just those people weren't in my life. And whatever I was giving out into the world was not attracting those people either. Or
interesting distinction, right?
Right. Or if they were
you
around.
weren't seeking that.
Yeah.
And you hadn't grown up to even consider that.
Oh gosh, no, yeah, that wasn't one of our sit down talks on Sunday night dinners because we didn't have Sunday night dinners. Anyway. So friends are important. And so I think you need to really look at who your people are in your life. And we talk about this a lot, so I'm just going to touch on it briefly. When you leave these people, when you spend time with them, a phone call, whatever, how do you feel? Are they going in a direction that you want to go in? Do they push you in a good direction? Do they not allow you to give up or wallow or screw off? Are they like, listen, girl, I appreciate this little moment you're having, but you're going to get over it. You need a friend that's going to tell you that.
Right.
Yeah. And so because of my friends, I can say, like, those are part of my grateful list this year. You also said, let me see. Oh, you said ask questions. Oh, you guys. You need to choose to ask questions a lot.
Yes. This is really Jane. I mean, he gives us this example through, like, ask questions, test yourself.
Yep.
All the time. It's like little quizzes. Why did I respond that way? Now, how did that make me feel to sit with that person? How do I feel when I'm walking away? From that conversation, why is that?
Right.
Who are the people I should be filling my extra time and space with in my life? Asking God.
Asking lots of questions is going to help you get out of a pit. It's going to help you propel yourself into where you want to go in life. It's going to help uncover sometimes, when you started saying, I imagined this thing that I couldn't really describe, I would have to ask myself a million questions. But I love to ask questions. And I think it's because I really hated school as a kid and I felt stupid all the time. And so now I realize, like, we have the ability to learn until we die. So ask lots of questions. Just because it always has been doesn't mean it always needs to be that way.
And you're not always going to get an answer.
Right.
Sometimes, just like that illustration, sometimes it's the sitting in the unknown that draws our faith closer and deeper to God, which is where I think we have a really big choice every single day and every single year is in our faith and how our faith is going to grow and what kind of faith we have. And there's this great Richard Rohr quote. I love him. He says, Christians have often preached a gospel largely compromised of words, attitudes, and inner salvation experiences. I know that resonates with you. People say they're saved, that they're born again. Yet how do we really know if someone's saved? Are they actually following Jesus? Do they love the poor? Are they free from their egos? Are they patient in the face of persecution? Even today, many Christians keep Jesus on a seeming pedestal, worshiping a caricature on a cross or a bumper sticker slogan while avoiding what Jesus said and did. We keep saying we love Jesus, but more as a God figure than someone to imitate. It seems the more we talk about Jesus, the less time we have to do what he actually said.
Amen.
I mean, these, again, I don't want faith like that.
Right.
I want real, genuine, true faith where I don't have to talk so much about Jesus because he shines through my actions.
Right.
Some days are better than others. I'm just saying.
Hey, no one died today. Oh,
yes, so far.
That is definitely one of my thing is go deep. The places that you have a lot of questions, the places where you feel uncertain, the places where you feel uneasy or like there's no bow, tie it up with a pretty bow. I don't know if there ever will be. Go deeper and be willing to go deep. Those friendships, those friendships that are like fuel for your soul, their sunshine, go deep in those relationships. Don't go wide and have 200 friends and you meet someone new for coffee every day. That's surface. You're not even living life to a quarter of your potential if that's your, depth of friendships that you have.
It's so easy to hide.
Yeah. Yes.
Which seems, it's counterintuitive. Like I was going to say it's easy to hide in shallow water, but really that's, you can hide in deeper water.
Right.
But go with the illustration. So when you're living in the shallow, it's so easy to hide, to not ask yourself questions, to skim the surface.
Right.
And not go deep. Mm-hmm. And again, that's a choice you make, but it's really not the right choice. It's going deep takes courage. Mm-hmm. It takes vulnerability. It takes strength. But there's so much, it's scary, honestly, to, like I picked up the phone and called you yesterday and just like threw up all over you, didn't I?
Yeah. I was
a
like,
little bit, not literally.
Like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, girl, no. Yeah. Let's do it.
But like I knew when I woke up that I had to call Melissa. I'm like, I got to call Melissa. I got to put this with a friend who I trust and can just talk me through this. Mm-hmm. And I knew she'd give it to me. Give it to me straight.
That's what someone told me. She gives it to me straight.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you call me, you kind of know what you're going to get. That's why my phone doesn't ring a lot. You got to be ready for it.
She's like a good straight shot of liquor, even though I don't drink liquor.
You should. It's fun. Anyway, so go deep in your faith.
Yes.
Maybe you're sitting here going, oh, it must be nice to just sit in a pit of mud and like you can just look at all the great things. You know why I can do that? Because I have worked so hard to know who God is, to know who God said I am, to know the characteristics of God, to journal where God has been in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying this to say that I'm amazing. Y'all, those journaling things don't come from an easy Sunday morning. They come from like the hardest times where the only thing I could do was write words because I don't think I could speak the words. Yeah. Right? All right, so enough about this. Forgiveness. Oh, forgiveness is a choice.
It is. Oh.
But when I look at Melissa, who just like lived with bitterness and the way it just trickled into all the things, it makes me sad. Mm. And so you can say, well, I'll forgive them when they decide. Well, you let me know, baby, when that happens, okay? You might be sitting there till the cows come home.
So let me ask you. When we talk about forgiveness, so often we say, not forgiving is actually like you giving someone poison, but you drink it yourself. Or whatever that saying is, which is so true. But how did that manifest itself for you? Since you bring that up and you were reflecting on those times in your life where you held on to such bitterness, like in what areas of your life when you were making that choice, because it is a choice, To hold on to resentfulness and not forgive and be bitter. How did that manifest?
Well, I mean, it definitely kept me. I had everyone at arm's length. I trusted no one.
Gotcha.
Cynical, so cynical, more cynical than I am now. Bum, bum, bum. It really kept me stuck, because if you choose, I think the first step to healing from something is forgiving. And forgiving the other person without ever getting an apology is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But then on top of that, you have to forgive yourself, even if you were not an active participant necessarily. Like, even if something was done to you, there's something about forgiving yourself. And the only way to explain that is if you've gone through it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, you think I'm crazy, and that's okay, because I am a little bit. I will say that when I'm able to forgive, let's say I forgave my mom, there are layers of that, but to be able to forgive my mom, and then all of a sudden you can heal the trauma. But if you don't forgive them, it's like you haven't even opened the door to healing yet.
That is really powerful. Yeah.
Because you can't start to heal from something that you're so focused on, And unfortunately, a lot of people that will harm us will either A, never know they did it, or B, not really care, honestly.
Right.
And so it won't be the first time or last time you'll have to do that. So.
Well, that was really good. And I think we can all relate to that in some way, for sure. I mean, depending on our experiences, and they're all different, and the traumas and the way we grew up, and whether we've been hurt by friends or family or strangers or whatever the case may be, there is that act of forgiveness, which, I mean, that to me is deep faith. That is the epitome of just trusting God in levels that we can't comprehend until we're in those moments where it's like, I know I was not capable of doing this without him. Like, he has given me the courage. He has given me the power. He has given me the strength and ability to forgive.
Yeah.
In certain situations,
About the forgiveness thing, I think that we assume that it's going to all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm going to call this person and say that I forgave you, or we're going to have a conversation, or then we're going to reunite, or, sometimes forgiveness is a solo act. Like, that person doesn't even know that you forgave them. And for me, I'm going to be really honest with you right now. One way I could forgive one particular incident is God's verse, vengeance is mine.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, right. it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes it's like, God's vengeance is far more powerful than mine.
Yes. And I go back to also I am so on the other side of perfect, right? And that he forgives me every single time I ask. And has given me this eternal life. And it's like, I am no better than anyone else. We're all on equal playing ground. Like,
yes.
Obviously, in worldly measures, that can seem different, but we're all very imperfect and flawed.
Yeah.
And he loves us all the same.
And y'all, if you are hanging on to a bitterness right now, you are not happy with my words. And I totally get it, because I was you. So I just want to say, keep trying, keep praying, keep asking God to change your heart. And maybe one day you'll be able to pray for the enemies. It does talk in scripture about how to respond to your enemies. But I'll let you go find that, because you're going to go deeper in your faith.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just taking that. You don't have to run down the path.
Right.
Just taking a few steps and being obedient with that and trusting the Lord. Maybe it's one step a day towards that forgiveness. Because when you're making a choice to do something, it's sometimes it's one step at a time.
The last thing I want to leave you with, there were a few others, but this one's really great, is do it scared. Like, if you have the choice to do something that you really want to do, but you're scared, do it scared. because you might instead regret that you couldn't do it. You know, you get a little older and you don't have that ability anymore or whatever. Just do it scared and trust your gut on things though, right? So like, if it's not in the Bible, if it's like, oh man, should I go and rob this bank? I'm a little scared. Don't do that. But if it's like, I feel like God is calling me to make this bold move. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, it's to glorify him, or it's, you know, to help my family or whatever. As long as it's legal, as long as it's moral, do it scared.
Yeah. I'm telling you, when you do, I do a lot of things scared that the Lord calls me to. Honestly. And I will tell you that if I could live my entire life like I do in those moments, like so fully, like, Lord, you better be here. Like, you told me to do this. You know I can't do it without you. So I'm counting on you. You know, like, I am so leaned in to him and to his power and his strength in those moments when I'm doing it scared, but I know he's called me to it. If I could live my entire life like that, I would have it together.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, wow. So when you're doing it scared, like, you really lean into the Lord, and it creates this incredible friendship and depth,
right,
of an intimacy with him, where you've like been in the trenches together, you know, and he had your back. As my dad always says, don't forget, I'll always have your six, mm-hmm. you know, because he was a pilot. And so somebody was always behind you, having your six, watching you from behind, making sure you're safe. And so he's got your six.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I love it. Man, I hope you go and choose to do something scared this week. You know that there's something that God is calling you to do. You have some choices to make. What's holding you back? And do it scared, because God's got your six.
Yeah.
I love it.
Ask the questions. Deepen the faith.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with good friends that will encourage you and hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And go for it. Thanks for joining us this week on The Sinner and the Saint.